Sue, could you tell me the sine of 240 degrees, please? The reference angle is 60. Agreed. So what's the sine of 60? Sine of 60 is root 3 over 2. Okay. Now, is it going to be positive or negative for 240 degrees? It's actually going to be negative because 240 is in the third quadrant. Okay? Again, I do not have these memorized. I do not have the sine of 240 degrees memorized. It's all done up here. Okay? Visualization. So what I do is I visualize 240 degrees. Here's 180. Here's 270. So it's between those two. And it's 60 more than 180. You have to know ASTC, or it's helpful. This is the T quadrant, so sine is going to be negative. So the sine of 240 degrees is equal to the opposite of the sine of 60 degrees, or the opposite of root 3 over 2. Okay? You have to be able to do that to answer a question like 13. Yes?
Why wouldn't the reference angle be like 80? Why is it always a special triangle?
Because we want you to be able to do problems that don't require use of a protractor and ruler.
I know, I'm just saying, like, then wouldn't the reference angle for that also be 80, so wouldn't 80 be equal to the reference angle of 60?
Why are you thinking the reference angle should be 80?
Because it also goes into 240.
It goes into 240?
Yeah.
Why are you concerned about divisibility?
Oh, I thought. Oh, is what's left to get to 270?
Not 270, 180.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm really glad we're clearing this up. It has nothing to do with divisibility. It has everything to do with how far are you from the x-axis. In this case, you're 60 away, right? Because you still need a right triangle. And there it is. And this side is the root 3 side, or you can make it negative. This side is the 2 side. This side is the 1 side. You can make it negative. So sine 240, opposite, negative root 3 over hypotenuse 2. So negative root 3 over 2. Make sense? Okay. So we got the left-hand side. Another random person is Brett. Could you tell me the sine of 120 degrees?
X root 3 over 2x, which is root 3 over 2.
That's the sine of 60. What's the sine of 120? It should be very similar, right? If not the same.
So what would be simple with that?
No. I'm a little bit messing with you, Brett. It's the same thing. Because 120, I just want you to be sure of yourself. 120 is in the second quadrant, right?
Yeah.
And sine is positive, right? So it's still going to be positive root 3 over 2. Okay? And Sue, again, can you tell me the cosine of 120? Positive or negative? Negative, because it's the second quadrant. Okay? It's very important that you get the positive or negative right. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Negative root 3 over 2 is that the same thing as, well, this 2 and this 2 cancel. Negative root 3 over 2. Is that true? Yes, it is. Reflexive property. Okay. Any questions on 13? Even though we did 14 through 16, any questions on those? It's all about Santa Claus for those. All. Okay, Dominique asked me how to do 17 through 21, so let's go over those in depth now. For these, you're just working backwards. For example, I'll do one for you, and then I'll call on people at random. So 17, this is what I do. I look at the polarity of the trig function, or the trig ratio. It's positive. Okay?
Is polarity just positive?
Positive or negative. Yep. It's positive. That means that the angles are going to be in the first and fourth quadrant. Now, with these answer choices, it makes it extremely simple. You don't actually need to know anything from there. You could just find the first and fourth quadrant angle. It's not A. That's first and second. B is one possibility. Can't be C, because this is third and fourth. And it can't be D, because that's second and third. So it better be B, but let's prove it. You need to know that cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Please keep in mind that without the calculator, the reference angles are going to be either 30, 45, or 60. So you just need to ask yourself, when is the ratio of adjacent to hypotenuse 1 to 2? Well, if you don't know, you can draw yourself a couple triangles. 45, 45, 90. 1, 1, root 2. It's not going to be that, because cosine will be 1 over root 2, which is not 1/2. So cancel. Let's look at the 30, 60, 90. One, root 3, 2. Cosine of 60, adjacent over hypotenuse, that looks good. Cosine of 30, adjacent over hypotenuse, not that one. So the reference angle is 60 degrees. That's when the ratio of adjacent to hypotenuse is 1 to 2. Then you just need to determine what the actual angles are based on the reference angle and using the polarity of the trig function. Well, the first quadrant's easy. The reference angle is the angle. And then the fourth quadrant, you just need to go 60 degrees away from 360. So 360 minus 60 is 300. So your final answers are 60 degrees and 300 degrees. Okay? Question? Can you say it louder? Oh, because cosine is positive, and cosine is positive in the first and fourth quadrants. I don't think it's necessary. I'm just trying to help people understand if they don't already. That's how I got 300. 300 is the fourth quadrant angle that's got a reference angle of 60 degrees. In other words, that is 60 degrees away from the x-axis. Okay? Good. Questions on 17? Yes, sir.
So if it's in the first quadrant, both of those, that would also get the first question.
The first quadrant, both of those? No, I don't follow.
Like if it's 60, 30.
60 and 30.
No,
I don't think that would be possible, right?
because 30 is in
Yeah, because the cosine of 30 is different than the cosine of 60. Okay? Any other questions on 17? Yes? Great. That's why I do this job. It's not for the money, I'll tell you that. I'm still earning less than what I earned 10 years ago. But maybe one day I'll earn as much.
Area.
It's starting salary.
You should see
Starting
Mr.
salary
Alexander
4?
about that.
It depends on the district. Probably in New Jersey, overall, it's like 45. Yes. Yes, you can. Okay, Celine. So first tell me, when is sine going to be positive? What quadrants? Very good. Now please tell me what the reference angle will be for when sine is root 3 over 2. 30, 45, or 60? 60. Excellent. Okay. Draw yourself the triangles. Do whatever it takes. I'm giving you a hint. It's either going to be 30, 45, or 60. Celine, the quad 1 angle is obvious. That's 60 degrees. How can you find the quad 2 angle that has a reference angle of 60? Excellent. So 60 degrees, that's the obvious one. The other one is also going to be 60 degrees away from the x-axis. But the full angle, in other words, the angle in standard position, is going to be 120. Okay. Any questions on 18? So 60 and 120. Yes, Terry.
About the quadrants.
Yes.
I understand how you get the first quadrant, but I don't understand how you got the second.
You have to look at whether the trig function is positive or negative.
Okay.
That tells you what quadrants. So in this case, sine is positive.
Yeah.
Therefore, it must be the first and second quadrant. Right?
Right.
Okay? Then from there, you just use the reference angle to determine what the angles are.
Yeah, I got that. I was just thinking about the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You got it?
Yeah.
Good. Good. All right, next random person is Nakia. We got this, Nakia. Tell me first, when is sine negative?
We're 18, right?
Number 19.
Mine is negative in third and fourth.
Sine is negative in the third and fourth. Very good.
So C.
Yeah, when we're given these choices, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But I want to guide you through finding it without those choices. So my next question for you is, when is sine positive 1/2?
In the first or second.
Okay, let me rephrase my question. Let me be more specific. For what acute angle is sine 1 to 2? And remember, it's either going to be 30, 45, or 60.
30.
30. So that's your reference angle. Now please tell me what's the third quadrant angle that has a reference angle of 30 degrees? That's in the second quadrant.
Oh, third. Do something.
So this is what's going on. You're 30 degrees away from the x-axis.
Yeah.
That's 180 there.
240.
I'm going to go with 210. Do you see how? 30 more than 180.
Okay.
So that's one of your answers. Not Q, sorry. Theta.
Can you move the paper?
Yeah. Get that? Now we have to find the fourth quadrant angle that has a reference angle of 30 degrees. Which is just a fancy way of saying 30 away from the x-axis. 300?
Yeah.
300 has a reference angle of 60 degrees. It's 60 away from the x-axis. You want it to be 30 away from the x-axis. There you go. 360 minus 30 is 330 degrees. Okay, so that's when sine is negative 1/2. Okay, any questions on 19? Okay, 20, random helper is Julia. My first question for you is, when is cosine negative? Good. Okay, to get more people involved, I'll call on more people. Dan, when is cosine going to be positive root 3 over 2? No. For what acute angle is cosine root 3 over 2? 30, 45, or 60? Yeah, what angle? 30, 45, or 60? Root 3 over 2. Yes. That's your reference angle. Okay? Brett, what second quadrant angle has a reference angle of 30 degrees?
30 degrees. Or what
Second quadrant.
150.
Very good. Okay, so one of our answers is 150. And Julia, the randomizer likes you today. What third quadrant angle has a reference angle of 30 degrees? Very good, 210. So that's your second answer. That's when cosine is negative root 3 over 2. Okay. Any questions on 20? Very well. And then the last one. Random person, Dominique. Please tell me, when is tangent positive?
On the first and third.
Very good. So we're looking for a first quadrant and a third quadrant angle. Next, Nikki B. What acute angle is tangent positive 1? For what acute angle?
Okay, wait.
I'll give you a hint. It's either 30, 45, or 60.
30, what?
I'll give you a hint, I said. It's either 30, 45, or 60 degrees.
I think it's 30.
The tangent of 30 is 1 over root 3. So try again.
Tangent, opposite over adjacent.
Yes.
So tangent of 1, opposite over adjacent.
When is the ratio of opposite to adjacent going to be 1 to 1?
45.
There you go.
45, 45.
Okay? And Celine, the first answer is obvious because it's quad 1. Can you tell me the third quadrant angle that has a reference angle of 45 degrees? Two, 2, 5. You got it. That's when tangent's going to be positive 1. Okay? Any questions on 21? Okay.